I believe they were trans. I was so wrapped up in my own that I was just like, I don't care about your gender. And hey, you're I mean, my God, I didn't even realize that word had been on an island and isolated and you couldn't say it anymore. I said it in a fucking awful context, too.
I was transphobic at 17. I liked Trump at 17. Rose remembers. I can tell you for sure that I've said the N-word. But you guys already knew this. Come on. Oh my God, I know, it's terrible. You guys are acting like you've never said something you weren't supposed to say before? Come on, chill.
He released an album last year as like Big Baller B, and like he uses the N-word like in the album at one point.
I'm hot out the oven, but my niggas on the north. My niggas.
Brad claimed on both his Twitter and his community tab that he was not aware of my rape comments. That is a blatant lie. Here is a tweet from May of 2018 where he very clearly is responding to one of my comments about rape. And here is a second tweet where he is very clearly responding to one of my comments about rape. Those tweets are both still up. So for him to say that he had no idea is just a blatant lie and an attempt to save face, because what he cares about most is not losing his audience. Brad has told me in the past that he doesn't care what I post and that he also looks for attention. He's just more careful about how he does it. He says that Twitter is horrible and that I was just voicing my opinion. Now that you're fully aware that Brad has been fully aware of all the things that I've said, his sudden 180 starts to make a lot less sense. He's saying the first time I actually stand up for what I believe, I essentially get voted off my committee. It's so bad, the internet is so bad, and it's just so stupid. He said he's been afraid of people judging him for so long that he's been tucking his tail with talking about me, but he truly believes in me. And I said, I completely understand. Thank you so much. I promise I won't disappoint you. All positive things moving forward. And he responds with, even if you disappoint me in the future, you're more than that. And you should be allowed to make mistakes. I trust you. Some of you may not be aware, but he's actually posted on his community tab promoting me twice. The first time he said that he deleted the post due to major backlash, but it still got the ball rolling. I apologize for all the negative comments that he got. And he said, nah, don't worry for me. I'm happy for you. I'm genuinely glad you did something non-controversial and being praised for it. Here he says, I want you to know that you don't bother me. I actually appreciate you checking in on me. I'm glad we're on good terms now. Even though I look at your tweets and go, bro, what the fuck is Rose on? I still see you as a friend and I'm not going to throw that away. And as you'll notice, he threw that away the very second that threatened his career. When it comes to controversial stuff that I say, there have been multiple times in the past where Brad has confined to me in DMs that he either agrees with what I'm saying or that he wishes he could be as open as I am, but worries about retaliation from his fan base. Here, Brad says to me, this is exactly what I was saying, but because I'm cis, I can't say it. Brad has confined in private to me several times that he actually hates the audience that he's cultivated. Responding to some of his fans' criticisms on Twitter, he says, dude, these people are so fucking stupid. Oh my God. He also says to me, that was my fucking point, lol. Get it? But whatever, I'll just accept it and not care too deeply. Brad Taste in Music hates his Discord community. He says, someone else was banned from my Discord for saying what I said. So whatever, lol. Also important to note that if you go on Brad Taste in Music's Discord, a lot of people have been considering renaming the Discord because they don't even like Brad anymore. And a lot of the comments on that Discord are basically criticizing Brad for all the stuff that he says. I avoid Discord for this reason. People don't know how to communicate normally, talking about his fans. Talking about his own Discord server, he says, I avoid that Discord like it has rabies. Every time something bad happens in the community, I know where it came from. Now, as a trans woman, some of the things that Brad has said in the past about trans people have upset me. As recent as 2020, Brad responded to a post of someone simply stating that trans people aren't obligated to tell you if they're trans by saying that he doesn't even want to have an honest conversation. He just wants to say, I am right, you lose, bye, and that the tweet has harbored such a hostile environment. What a lot of you also don't know is that as soon as Brad started blowing up on YouTube, a lot of his original friends started turning against him.
Back in 2017, all the people that he was originally friends with, like most of them have turned against him because of his behavior. And I was the first person to really call him out. I know a lot of people afterwards started to realize some of the things that I'd already realized.
Here's a conversation Brad had with a friend about his channel, calling him egotistical, money-driven, power crazy, and fully knows well what he's doing. In the DMs, he said he loves music and making content on it, but he also loves watching his empire grow. Now, a very weird phrase to use, especially considering the fact that he only had around 10,000 subscribers at the time, and he's referring to his YouTube sub count as watching his empire grow, and that he doesn't want to worry about people who aren't on his side no matter what. Here's another commenter bothered by his phrasing of his audience as growing his empire. It's become about numbers. He hoped his friend would get it, but he didn't.
He wants to push his content without worrying about people who aren't on his side no matter what. So like, you can't have disagreements with people. So he's just kind of unnecessarily like starting this kind of like divide against the people who like he was friends with because he has more subscribers than them now.
Also in 2018, Brad has this interaction with the fan. The fan simply says, I just think with your audience, I think you should think about your actions more if I'm being honest.
Which I mean, that sounds like a really reasonable comment,
That's
right?
exactly what
Like,
I want to say to him.
But Bradley, for whatever reason, like you wouldn't think that this kind of comment would tick someone off because it's a very reasonable comment for someone to make.
To which Brad responds by calling this person an ableist slur.
Bro, F you. Like you're actually mentally ill. Not cause of depression, but our wordation.
To make things worse, this person was a trans woman, and he then proceeded to actively misgender this person, to which Brad admits to in a now deleted response video that he posted to his channel about the situation.
I was so wrapped up in my own that I was just like, I don't care about your gender.
He claims that she's using misleading screenshots to push her victim complex, and that he has never had any less respect for anyone than I do of her. She makes every community look bad that she's a member of. It hurts to watch. I would like to remind you that all she said is that Brad should be careful what he says because of his audience. Here's someone else referring to the situation of him misgendering the trans woman, same person he called an ableist slur, and also claiming that he invalidated her depression. Brad also has a severe ego problem.
The truth is, like, I have like seen from Brad following him on Twitter and stuff, I was getting the impression that he kind of does have an issue a bit with like being pretty arrogant and stuff. I got into Brad's Discord and people were sending me a ton of screenshots and everything about all this, stuff he's been doing, just being really rude and mistreating them and also acting really arrogant. So I thought, okay, so here we have Brad Tastes in Music, a fellow music critic who I've always seen to be kind of arrogant or whatever, and now people are reaching out to me with like actual stories and screenshots. You and a number of other people have sent me screenshots and reached out with other shitty things Brad has done.
He's a very egotistical person. I get the impression from him that he just thinks he's better than everyone else, and I can definitely see it through his actions and through his tweets. And I remember this because he had like literally less than 1,000 subscribers at the time. When I met him, he had 300 subscribers, and that's when we did our collaboration. And like maybe like a few months later, I noticed he started getting like 100 or 200 subs in like a week or something. And I remember being like, whoa, that's crazy. Congratulations. And as soon as I said like, congratulations, how'd you do it? What's some advice? His response to me is, you are late to the blow up party. I mean, like, first of all, my thumbnail game is unmatched. Post Fall Out Boy thumbnails are A+. I suggest you get creative and break out of normal formats. And this is him getting like 200 subscribers or 300 subscribers in a month. And that's like him being like, oh, you're so late. And he just, the way he said that to me was just
terrible.
like so weird. That was just like the first point where I was just like, okay, this guy definitely has some like ego issues.
Yeah, and he's still at it like to this day.
Similar tweet to this around the same time. He says, I feel like Jesus. Thank you to everyone who has helped me share my videos. And it's basically saying that he's growing a lot. Again, he had less than 1,000 subscribers for this. It's okay to feel proud. But like when you say you feel like Jesus, and then you say, oh, well, you're late to the blow up party, when all I did was congratulate you on Twitter saying, hey, congrats for the growth.
Here in March of 2018, he says, I have fangirls sending Instagram DMs, call me Jesus. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the tweets on me currently, but back in 2018, it was a tweet that he posted on his Twitter, giving the handle of his Snapchat, and saying that he was more likely to add you if you were a pretty girl. Here he calls a commenter a pussy for simply saying, that he shouldn't be making fun of somebody who has anxiety.
But when you said the whole thing about like the homophobic comment, like I read that. Try in his video, he just says, "Oh, well, I'm just talking about the fact that the album talks about this." But he like lists that as like one of the reasons he doesn't like the album. I'm a trans woman myself. I'm offended by that. And to me, it's not necessarily just that comment. Like to me, if it was just that, I wouldn't think too much into it. But it's just like knowing his past, knowing that he was a Trump supporter in the past.
He's definitely not thinking about the words he's saying. It definitely comes off as homophobic. Maybe he didn't mean it that way, but like to me, the review he posted just comes off as homophobic, and he should have been more careful with his words and apologize for the way he worded it.
Here's Brad saying that he doesn't like having feminism shoved down his throat. I also just want to mention this tweet right here. So what he's referring to is actually a clip from a live stream where he's specifically responding to a comment where I said that I knew him at the time and was aware of comments that he's made. He claims that this transphobia was just typical behavior. Now, if you go back, you'll notice that a lot of tweets he made at the start of his channel were very questionable. Now, what you'll notice is that Brad has a lot of tweets public on his account where he says the N-word, but he replaces a letter with B. This is essentially him saying the same thing, but changing it slightly so he doesn't get in trouble. More weird comments. This in particular is just a weird comment to make. And as you'll notice, this is a trend where he has multiple tweets using this exact word, and even this as well. I would just like to remind you that I've never said this word in my life. Now, Brad also used to be a Trump supporter, saying that the Grammys in 2018 are a cringe fest and that they are quote unquote pushing their agenda blatantly. Here's him saying that Trump did a stupid thing, but it has nothing to do with him, so he'll just keep living his life and memeing on. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the clip for this, but very recently, I want to say maybe about a month ago, Brad was talking about an artist on his live stream during one of his paid reaction requests, and then he proceeded to call this person a racial slur, but instead of N, it started with the letter W. Now, this may have been a misunderstanding, but essentially what that word is ridiculing white people for acting too much like black people. It has the same racial intent that the N-word does. It is just directed to white people and disgust for them acting too much like black people, or the word. He may not have known this, but he has used the word in the past, as you can see from this tweet. Now, after seeing these tweets, it may come as no surprise to you that he has admitted in the past to using the word. Another thing that I have an issue with is that I'm not a fan of the fact that there are people in his community that have spent tens of thousands of dollars in order to see him react to albums.
Skrigel says, "Do you even know how much money I've donated to you over the years? You have donated $22,388.19. Your first donation was August 4th, 2022 at 3:48 p.m. And your latest donation was June 8th, 2024. You are now the second highest donator, topped by Ned, who hasn't donated in a while, so you only got to send in another $2,200.
And this is clearly unhealthy, and in some cases putting these people in serious financial trouble, but he kind of just enables this behavior, and I've always just had a little bit of a problem with that. Here he praises 4chan.
But then you go on the only place that matters, Mew. You go to 4chan.
There's a screenshot of him basically saying that he like started this whole like emo thing just by like shitting on them, and now he has like them as their fans. Like when he started making these kinds of videos, he was not a fan of emo music, and the only reason he kept making it is because that's what gets the views. Like I legitimately don't think he cares about like Panic at the Disco. Definitely when he started, I think even he will admit it's kind of weird, and I think the people who are like fans of him now might find that a bit interesting. Someone made like a really joke video where like they were roasting all the music critics. It was all for fun. It was nothing serious. And like Bradley responded out of nowhere with like this tweet that said, "Felt rushed and void of any humor or irony. I don't think the intention was to make people offended, so it's whatever. But if you want to see a 3-second clip of him saying you're bad, then here you go." So like just these people who are just doing nothing except making videos for fun, and he just has the urge to like just roast them for no reason. And like there's a response that says he got ratioed for this. The response says, "It was just meant for fun, dude. It's not serious." A friend that I had around the same time His name is Legend BTV. I had a collaboration with him around the same time as a collaboration with Bradley. He released a video that I guess was kind of similar to one of Bradley's kind of series, but he'd already been doing this kind of thing for months beforehand. And so he basically tweets out, here's what he said. He said, bruh, I'm not trying to be a dick because I'm a believer in influence, but the video comes off as a little much. You know, someone responds to him saying like, I mean, like he has been doing that series format for a while now. And then Bradley responds with, ranking albums and works is nothing new. The guy is a fan of mine, which the thing about it is the only reason Bradley knows about him is because I collaborated with him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like weird to call him a fan when he's like, I'm mutual friends with both of them, if that makes sense. So it doesn't surprise me that he'd be inspired through what I do. I'm just shocked at how blunt and sudden it is. It's just like weird. He just wants
that's
to feel
really
like,
weird. That's
all
like
these people are copying me. If you have a music project and you're friends with him, he will literally no holds barred. He will just tell you it's a horrible album if he thinks it's horrible, which, I mean, maybe some people might appreciate the honesty of it, but like when you don't ask him for your opinion on something and he just like shits on your album that you worked really hard on, like it's one thing if you're like a popular musician, I have no issue with that.
Yeah, for sure.
But like when it comes to like the people you are like friends with, when you're just like relentlessly bashing them. I had just released my debut album and I remember Brad just leaves this like really bad review and he says, holy shit, you should have seen the expression on my face when I saw this here on the website. I thought I would be an asshole for calling out this independent album while it was just a video on YouTube. I mean, looking at music and putting aside what I personally worked on with Rose, I had to force myself to listen to this. It was not inspiring, or like the thing I have an issue with is it was just unsolicited. And for whatever reason, he just decides, even though like we were totally friends at the time, to just shit on me for no reason. And it's just like, imagine if like you had a friend and your friend like literally out of nowhere responds to an album that you worked pretty hard on and just starts tearing it apart, saying this is a horrible album, this is one of the worst albums I ever heard. And it just like leaves an like, I don't care that he has his opinion, but just the fact that he just like gives these unsolicited advices to people, I kind of take an issue with that.
Absolutely,
and,
yeah. Because like, I mean, this is something I've seen him do before too, where he gives like fake apologies. You know what I mean? Like that's like it sounds like he starts by apologizing, like, "Oh man, I shouldn't have done that," and then in the same tweet, he shits on your album. It's ridiculous. Like
he's not even sorry for like basically just leaving this really nasty review. Literally, he leaves this review. I recorded a video with him, kind of like really similar to what we're doing now. We were both on Skype and we just like had a blast. We were just talking about some horrible New Music Friday playlist song. That was 2 weeks before he shits on my album publicly.
Yeah, that's...
And we were like still on Discord and talking at the time. It just came out of nowhere. And I was just kind of like confused. I mean, maybe he just thought, oh, everyone's shitting on this album. It would look cool if I don't know what was going on. You know, people have talked to you about this kind of stuff and like messaged you privately about this kind of stuff. Like I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I mean, he also has a history of saying really controversial things. And it's just like, obviously in the past, like it's not debatable. I think even Bradley admits that like in 2018, around the time that this kind of stuff happened, that he made mistakes. That just proves to me that like this is a serious issue. And I think a lot of his fans, either they don't know about this or they just like his videos and they're like willing to overlook it. But like he's doing the same stuff over again. So I don't understand how he can claim that he's like changing when he's still doing this stuff today. He hasn't really changed and matured like he said he did.
Yeah.
I feel like if people knew more about the kind of stuff that he used to do, they might say, oh, well, wait a second, you know, instead before where they said the homophobic thing, that was just jumping conclusions. And I can say, no, he said this about someone. He said this. And they can look at that and say, oh, so this is a pattern of behavior. So I think we have a right to question him about that.
The stuff that you're complaining that, you know, I was dragging him through the mud, you know, time has proven that I was actually right about those things. It's weird how everyone's so silent considering me, and it's because I call you guys out on this stuff.
So overall, my problem with Brad is that he's very quick to call out other people for their mistakes, yet expects you to forgive him for his past mistakes, a lot of which he has not talked about. The reason why Brad was sympathizing with me is because we're very similar, and he even admitted to such. My mistakes reminded him a lot of his mistakes, and I've just showed you a sample of what those were. I just felt like I needed to say this. My issue is that he is a hypocrite. What he believes privately is often very different from what he believes publicly. And he's even said in the past, the only real difference between me and him is that I say what I believe openly, whereas he is much more careful about his public image and often doesn't reveal his true beliefs. Because the thing that matters most to him is his YouTube audience and not doing anything that might risk that. He has no issue throwing away friendships if it means securing the channel. In case you're wondering why Brad has been getting into a lot of controversy recently and acting weird, he's kind of always been like this. It's just only becoming more apparent to most of you now. But as someone who's known him for a while, this is just what he's like. Obviously, I'm not a perfect person, and I can understand that I'm probably not the right messenger for this sort of thing. However, since nobody else is talking about this or bringing this up, I felt that it's fair for me to bring this to your attention. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in August.